Never ask men for these things. To be honest with you, this is going to be slightly traumatizing for some of you because it's going to remind you of all the things you asked for when you were most desperate to be with a man, but he wasn't very serious about you. It's also going to remind you of all the things you ever asked for in a relationship that you never got. On top of that, when you do ask for these things, he will more than likely punish you for it and just do the opposite, which is why I'm giving you this list on today's show that will prevent you from ever making the same mistake ever again. By the end of the lesson, you won't need to ask a man for a single one of these things because you already know the answer before he even opens his mouth. For point number one, we're going to discuss asking him to spend more time with you. And I know that's going to sound a little bit like toxic advice. The reason I'm saying this though is because when you ask a man to spend more time with you, you're only going to get one of two possibilities, and both of them are pretty bad. You know, the guys, they're so excited for GTA 6. Let's say he's playing GTA 6. As he's super hyped to play the game, you're like, babe, like we haven't spent any time together. Like we literally haven't seen each other in so long. And I'm really hoping that we could go out for a date or do something together. Or like, I don't just want to be here and you're sitting on the game all day. You literally do this for hours and hours. And he's like, all right, guys, I gotta get off the game. And they're like, why you gotta get off the game, bro? You gotta stay on the game. And he's like, my girlfriend wants to hang out with me, and I guess I gotta go hang out with her, even though I don't want to, and I'd rather stay on the game and play with you all. But even in scenario number one, where he's super disappointed and he's like, yeah, you know what, whatever, I'll hang out with you. He's now treating your relationship as if he's being held hostage, as if he's a prisoner. Why is your man looking at you and thinking of you as someone where it's like, oh, you're an obligation to spend time with? You're someone he has to spend time with. And that's why I say it can end up being a pointless activity to even ask a man to spend time with you. Because if he doesn't naturally feel like I'm excited to spend time with you, to the point where you feel like I need to come out and ask you for us to spend more time together, that's already letting you know where his priorities lie. For point number two, we're gonna discuss the idea of having him define the relationship because you already know how that conversation goes. What I mean by that is you might get an inkling to say, okay, I feel like there's no clarity in our relationship here. I feel like there's not real proper direction in our relationship here. And because I want that clarity in that direction, I need to ask him to define our relationship. These men, they're not dumb. A little bit emotionally stunted, but they're not dumb. When you ask that question, he's either gonna tell you what you want to hear, or he's gonna altogether just avoid the answer, give you such a vague answer that it's a non-answer. And so when do you ever think you're going to ask a man to define the relationship and he's gonna tell you, yeah, by the way, I just want to let you know I'm only here to smash, and I'm not actually going to take you seriously, and I'm not actually going to take this relationship seriously, and I'm going to cheat on you. No guy's ever going to say that. So this is why I say part of the list of the things that I don't want you asking men for anymore is because I don't want you thinking that you're even going to get an answer that makes sense or will guide you by asking for it. And I know it sounds horrible because like, why can't we just communicate? Why can't men just be straight up? Why can't men just tell us how it is? Well, that would be great in a perfect world. But again, we don't live in a perfect world. And the men that you're dating, they don't all necessarily want the best for you. They want the best for themselves. For point number three, we're going to discuss asking him for his loyalty. And I know that this one sounds kind of strange. Do you really think that a man who really wants to be with you and wants to be in a relationship with you, do you think you're gonna have to ask him to be loyal to you? Like if you find yourself in a situation where you're like, I feel like, he's liking a bunch of girls' pictures. I feel like, he's in all these girls' likes and in all these girls' comments. I feel like he's messaging and DMing a bunch of girls behind my back. Do you really think if that was the case, that asking him to be more loyal to you or to be a more loyal partner to you is actually gonna solve your problem? Absolutely not. But it's another one of these things that you imagine in your mind because you think that we live in this perfect world where men will just give you what you want by asking, that asking a man to be loyal will make him more loyal to you and will make him respect your relationship more. It won't. And the reason I keep saying this is because I'd rather shift your mind and your attention to taking action and being observant. So in this case, it would be more about being observant about whether or not a man is loyal to you and allowing that to be the truth. No need to ask a man to be loyal to you because I guarantee you, he's not going to be loyal to you just because you ask him to. And you're going to be even more frustrated because you're asking him to do something that he is basically doing the opposite of. And in your frustration, you're going to feel like, well, why can't I get what I want? Why do you not want to do the things that I want you to do? Why don't you want to be the man that I want you to be? Why don't you want to be like this or act this way or treat me this way? For point number 4, we're going to discuss asking him to prioritize you over his purpose. And I'm not saying that you should come second, because I know the title of this slide is don't ask him to put you first. I'm not saying you being a priority is bad. What I'm saying is when men want to make you a priority, they make you a priority. You don't find yourself having to ask a man to make you a priority because in his mind and in his heart, you already are so. Of course, he will have things that he does, things that he loves, things that are important to him, but you should also be important to him. So if you find yourself in a relationship or a situationship with a man where like, damn, I feel like I'm the last thing on his priority list to the point where I need to ask you to make me more of a priority, well, the priorities are already messed up, which is why you're feeling like you have to ask him for that and ask him to change that. Here's the other part that is quite a bit scary. And this is why I say in some cases they end up just doing the opposite or resenting you for even doing what you asked for. In a scenario where you ask him to put you first, to make you more of a priority because you feel like last on the totem pole, if he does put away his purpose, put away the things that he was doing to make him feel good about himself and make him feel like he has direction, to put you first or to make you more of a priority, and let's say for the sake of argument, he overcompensates by making you his entire world and making you his everything and abandoning and dropping everything that he's been doing to be with you. Then down the line, he then looks at you and he says, I'm mad at you. Why are you mad at me? He's mad at you because he resents you, because he feels like, oh, well, I threw everything away for you. Now I don't have nothing. So when you don't talk to me, I'm mad at you because you should talk to me all the time and you should never ignore me and you should never take more than 5 minutes to message me back because I made you my whole world because you asked me to prioritize you. Now I'm prioritizing you and now I don't have you. For point number 5, we're going to discuss asking him to drop his hobbies and his friends. And this is one that I know you probably secretly wished for at some points, just not out loud. You might get to a place where you're like, I really like this guy, but he spends so much time not with me. I wish he would spend more time with me. And then it's one of those situations where be careful what you wish for, because once he actually does become that, meaning you ask him to, hey, you know, I know you like playing men's basketball and all this other stuff, but do you have to go every day? I know you like, you know, doing this stuff and going to car meet, but do you have to do that all the time? I know you enjoy hanging out with your friends, but do you have to do that literally like every other day and like they take up so much of your time? And then what happens is he gives you what you want. And then you realize why you should have never asked for that in the first place. Because the moment that guy doesn't have no more hobbies, the moment that guy doesn't spend enough time with his friends, he goes insane. He's also up your butt crack about every single little thing that you're doing. And I know if you're coming from a place in a relationship where you've gotten way less attention, it can feel like, well, I'd rather my guy be up my butt crack than not pay attention to me at all. But it starts to become very toxic very fast. Because when he's up your butt crack, his expectations of you are through the roof. You're never allowed to do anything. You're never allowed to have fun or enjoy yourself or go out with your girlfriends or do anything except be with him. On top of that, right, now he's in a position where mentally he's on an emotional roller coaster. Anything you say will trigger him. Anything you do will trigger him. You talking about your past will trigger him. Triggering him will trigger him. And so you start to get into this place in your relationship where everything is like grinding gears. You're not able to just enjoy each other's company. You're not able to sit down and have, you know, good conversation. It's like everything is like, you know, a big deal for him. And I know it sounds weird, but if you have the same way I don't advise you to make a man your entire world, don't ask him that you want to be his entire world. Because men especially, they need to feel purposeful and like they have direction even outside of their relationship. If men don't feel like that, they become very discombobulated with their identity and who they are, and they're not able to lead as well. Instead, they're more like, oh, please stay with me. Please do everything with me. Please go everywhere with me. Oh, why would you say this? Oh, why would you? And they're like ultra sensitive about everything because you're their whole world. So let's go on to point number 6. For point number 6, we're going to discuss asking him to change the essence of who he is. I want you to pay attention here because it's not the same as what we were discussing before. When I say change the essence of who he is, when you meet a guy, you know, every guy will be a little bit different. They all are unique in their own way. Some guys will be more or less romantic. Some guys will be more or less funny. Some guys will have more or less money, okay? And so when you meet a guy, you're going to get a whiff, a large dose of the essence of who he is as a human being. Now, the question becomes, based on what you want in a relationship and in a man, does that work for you or does that not work for you? What can happen sometimes is if you meet a guy and you're like, you know what, I really like you except if you were more romantic, you would be way better. I really like you, except if you were more adventurous, you would be amazing. Like, you'd be the best. And so you start to ask him to change the things that you feel like would make him a better version of himself. Or let's even just say the version that you like better. What happens here is he's frustrated because everything he tries to change, that's not the essence of who he is. He's always going to revert back to who he was at the beginning anyways. You're also going to be frustrated because you're going to be like, I love you and you're amazing, but if you could be more like this, that would be even better. And then you constantly find yourself like in this place where mentally you're just thinking about what you could turn him into as opposed to what he actually is. And you think that asking him to be that thing or to change that aspect of himself will get you closer to being with the man that you actually want to be with, when you should just be with the man that you actually want to be with. So for point number 7, we're going to talk about not asking him to just let it go. Men already have problems sharing their feelings. It's not that serious. That's what the kids say. This is how it will affect you negatively. He will start letting it go, and he'll start letting it go real good. He won't mention things that bother him. He won't talk about things that bother him. He won't reference things that bother him. And it sounds cool at first until now you have a man who doesn't want to share anything. And I know you're like, why can't men just have a balance? Like, if I tell him to just let it go, I don't mean let it go forever. And I don't mean let everything go since the end of the world. But the point is that men naturally already suppress emotions and feelings a lot. And so by the time you say, don't just let it go, like you need to chill, you need to stop taking everything so serious, he starts learning from that or receiving that as, oh, okay, well, maybe I should just stop mentioning things that bother him. For point number 8, I do not want you to ask him to be another man. I'm laughing because you might do this on accident and it just might slip out, because ego for men is like a very fragile thing. And especially if you are with a man, you want to be mindful of what the meaning of what you're saying to him actually is and how he might take what you're actually saying to him. So I'll give you an example of how this could work. Let's say your guy that you're talking to has a best friend, and let's say his best friend's name is John. You know, you guys have went on a double date together with John and his girlfriend, and you know, John brought flowers for his girlfriend. John always showers his girlfriend with compliments and all this other stuff. And so you say, oh my gosh, you go to your man and you're like, I just really don't like the fact that you're not very romantic. I really wish that you could be more like your friend John. And like, I would want you to do things more like how John does for his girlfriend. Do you think like you could be at, like, John's your friend, like, do you think you could be like, do some of the stuff that John does? And like, cause John, like he takes his girlfriend out all the time. Like every time I see them on Instagram and stuff like that, they're always going on a new date and having a new experience. And so in a way, you're essentially asking him to be like another man. This is like a version of changing the essence of who he is, except it goes even further, because now, one, he feels inadequate because you're asking him to be more like someone else. But also, simultaneously, even if you do genuinely appreciate him, he automatically gets defensive because he feels like you don't appreciate him now. And this can, again, work against you because you're asking him for something that you desire and you want, which is perfectly fine. But how he receives it is, oh, she doesn't even like me. And on top of this, especially if you do this and you make the mistake of doing this with like one of his friends or somebody that he knows or a coworker, now in his mind, he takes it as, not only am I inadequate, not only am I not good enough and she doesn't appreciate me, but she probably also likes that other guy more, which is why she's asking me to be more like this other guy. And again, it's one of those things, I'm not saying that you're a bad person, I'm not saying that you're doing it maliciously, but it can slip out sometimes because you're frustrated. It can slip out sometimes because you're just like, you know what, like, I just, I see what these other girls are getting from their man, and I wish you could be more like that. Why can't you be more like that guy? So for point number 9, we're gonna discuss asking him for his attention. And it's a weird one because you might feel like, well, I want my man's attention. Why can't I ask him for more attention? Would a man who really wants and desires you have a problem giving you attention? Most likely not. So by the time you're asking him for attention, you're already identifying that you're in a relationship that you probably shouldn't be in. Or the dynamic of your relationship really isn't the healthiest, which is why you feel the need. Because a lot of the time, I know the title of the video is Never Ask Men for These Things, but most of the time you're not even asking when you're at this point. You're usually begging because you feel so attention deprived in your relationship that you feel the only way out of this is to quite literally beg him for more attention. Beg him to pay attention to you. Beg him to want to spend time with you, like I was talking about earlier. And you want to know, let me give you all a little bit of a pro tip. The better way to go about this, instead of begging for his attention, the better way to go about this is when you notice a man is not giving you his time, not giving you his attention, not seeming like he really wants to do anything with you. It's like you're on the back burner. He doesn't want to prioritize you. At that moment, prioritize everything you have going on. Enjoy your time with yourself. Go out with yourself or your girlfriends. And let's add some on top of it. Go out looking sexy. Go out dressed in exactly what you know he loves on you the most. If he loves a nice tight red dress on you, wear that. If he loves some tight jeans on you, wear that. Make sure he realizes, if you're not going to pay attention to me, perfect. I'll go out and I'll spend time doing things that I enjoy. I guarantee you some people will pay attention to me that way. So for point number 10, we're going to talk about the idea of begging him to want you. You're never going to do that. Never going to do that. When I say begging him to want you, I'm also kind of talking about begging him to desire you, because you might feel at certain points in your relationship with the guy that I just don't feel like you desire me as much as you used to, or as much as you should. I don't feel desired by you in this relationship. I don't feel sexy to you. So you start to feel like, well, I want to ask you to want me more. But let's think about this logically. How do you just decide to want someone more? Like, how do you actually do that? You can't just snap your fingers and be like, okay, I want you more now. Because when you ask him to desire you more, he's like, okay, I'll desire you more now. And nothing actually happens. And the reason I'm saying this is because I know these are some of the things that when you're in a more desperate situation, or you're in a situation where this relationship's giving you a lot of anxiety, you start to be like, well, I need this from you. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Can you do this? Can you change that? And all of this is signaling to you, or should be signaling to you, you're already not in the right relationship by the time you feel the need to ask these type of questions of your man. Point number 11, do not ask a guy to become your dream man. And I mean this from the standpoint of, when you think of your Prince Charming, your perfect man, you know, all the things that he'll have muscles, he'll go to the gym, he'll take his fitness seriously, he'll be funny, you know what I mean? All the things that you want, you'll start thinking to yourself, well, the guy I'm with is not that, but I need him to be the man of my dreams. So rather than just finding the man of my dreams, I will try and get this guy to be the man of my dreams by asking him to change all these things about how he operates so that he's more the man of my dreams. An example of that could be even in just the treatment that he gives you. Maybe you have a specific way that you want your man to speak to you, or how, you know, often you want him to take you out on dates. And so you find yourself asking him, oh, can you take me out on dates like this? When you take me out on dates like this, can you do this? Can you talk to me like this? Can you speak to me like this? Can you call me your baby? Can you and so you almost want to turn him into your idea of a perfect man, but you have to ask yourself, does he even have any intention of being that? I'm not saying communicating your feelings and the things that you enjoy is bad, but by the time you feel like, well, you're not my dream man, so I'm going to ask you to become my dream man by asking you to change all these things about yourself, are you really actually even in the relationship that you should be in the first place? So for point number 12, I want to talk about the concept of not asking him for an apology. I really should have put this at number 1, to be honest with you, because this is like really important. And I know when I say it, you're going to be like, are you serious? Bro, this is the most toxic advice ever. You're telling me I shouldn't even ask a guy to apologize. Let me explain to you how this works. If someone wrongs you, let's say you're with a guy and he cheats on you with your best friend. Do you really honestly think that he doesn't understand that cheating on you with your best friend is wrong? Do you really honestly think that when he disrespects you to the point where it's like, wow, like I can't even believe you went that far? Do you really think that he doesn't understand that an apology is due to you when he has disrespected you to that level? Now, of course, there will be situations where it's like you're upset, but he didn't realize you're upset because it's something that is kind of small, or, you know, that he just never knew about that would upset you. But a lot of times when people do you wrong, especially when they do you crazy, they know they're doing you crazy. They just don't care to admit that they're doing you that crazy. And so the problem with this is when you feel like, well, I want to ask him for an apology by saying, hey, I deserve an apology, or don't you think I deserve an apology? Oh, what are you gonna do to make this up to me? This is another big one that you might say or ask for. What are you gonna do to make this up to me? You better do something like really big. If he was really sorry, would you have to ask him to give you a big grand gesture to make it up to you? If he was really sorry, would you even have to ask him to apologize to you in the first place? Or do you think someone who's genuinely sorry will say, no, I wronged that person. I know I wronged that person. I know how I wronged that person, and I'm going to apologize to that person. And I'm going to show that person that I'm sorry with the gestures and with the actions that I take. Point number 13, I want to talk to you about not asking a man to be a man. I don't want to rant on this one. Sometimes when you date guys, they will want to be boys and they will want to stay boys forever because they are not interested in taking on any responsibilities of a man. So for example, he won't want to pay any bills, or let's say he's always behind on his bills. He has a bunch of credit card debt. He's never like on time with things. He's very financially just irresponsible. So you guys will go out sometimes, his card will get declined because he doesn't even know how much money is in his account. He has no way of keeping track accurately of his finances and just no plan for the future. Very, very irresponsible. You might be in a relationship with that guy, unfortunately, and then you find yourself asking him, hey, like, can you be more responsible? Can you take care of things that a man is supposed to take care of? Can you make it so that I don't have to like handle all the logistics, that I don't have to do all the planning, that I don't have to do all the organizing? And you might find yourself legitimately asking a man to be more of a man for you in this relationship. If you're doing that, walk away. If you feel the need to even ask this question, walk away. That's why I say never ask a man for these things. Because what is it actually going to do for you to ask a man who is in love with being a boy? When I say in love with being a boy, like in love with not having responsibilities, in love with not taking action, in love with not being a leader, in love with not planning and being scheduled and being organized and just flying by the seat of his pants like a boy, like someone's gonna come and save him from his obscurity. When a man is obsessed and in love with being a boy, leave him be. Don't ask him to change because he doesn't want to change. He enjoys being a boy. He enjoys having little to no responsibility. He enjoys being irresponsible. He enjoys the idea that you come to his rescue, or his mommy comes to his rescue, or his daddy comes to his rescue. Somebody always coming to his rescue. For our 14th point, I want to talk to you about not asking a man to show you love. When a man is really into you, when he loves you, when he's falling in love with you, he will gladly show you that before you ever need to ask. And it's one of the most common things that you could find yourself asking a man for, because you're thinking in your mind, I feel like you're only saying that you love me, but I feel like you're not actually expressing it through your actions and the things that you do for me and the way that you go about our relationship. And so because of that, you find yourself wanting to ask him, can you actually show me the ways that you love me? By the time you're doing that, one of two things will happen. Either he's gonna be like, actually, I'm not gonna do that because I don't feel like doing that, which is disappointing. Or number two, he'll be like, sure, I guess I'll show you how I love you. How would you want me to do that? And then you'll tell him all the ways that you want him to show you how, he loves you. And he'll do that, not because he actually loves you, but because you've complained about it and you've asked him about it. And so he's like, okay, well, I'll just do what she said to do to show love. And you're over here like Boo Boo the Fool, thinking your man's madly in love with you, but he's literally just doing the things that you said that he should do. And none of it's coming from a genuine place of like, I express my love for my woman by doing these things for her. It's more coming from a place of, I'm a prisoner to my girlfriend and she made me do these things to show her I love her. So I do these things because she basically forces me to.